So I think we're back now. Thank you for staying with us during the technical difficulties. I was just talking about what the companies or what the enterprises of West Sweden might be, because we have a really rich history of a big and diverse industry. But what we're maybe most famous for historically, the automotive industry, with Volvo and SKF, that are not the only industry or the only companies that we have here today. Because, as I said, we have a big life science sector with the world-leading companies such as AstraZeneca, Getinge. We have a chemical and petroleum industry, which I know works a lot with the University West. A big maritime sector. In Borås, we have a big textile industry, if you're interested in those kinds of issues. But what I also want to highlight is the last one with the defense and security industry, which is a growing industry in Sweden now, where a lot of public investments are being made, and all of these companies are growing really fast. And I know that GKN has entered or they have always worked closely with the University of West Sweden, but I know there are new recent projects that seems really interesting in how you're going to manufacture tools and reserve parts, I think, without being an expert in that. But I also want to say, with Saab, which is also really interesting case, and that they actually, during the last year, and you can think what you want about this, why we have to make these kinds of investments in defense and security, but they are being made, and the companies that works with these kind of issues, they grow, and that means jobs for a lot of people. And Saab is now one of the 10 biggest employees in Gothenburg. So there are a lot of different, very interesting industries and subjects where you could work if you were to move to West Sweden. Back to some comparisons, because I want to just hammer in the point that we are the driving force of the Swedish economy. So I brought you a graph of export of goods per region in billion Swedish crowns. And I just want to show you that West Sweden, Västra Götaland as we call it here, export the most amount of goods. Almost 5 billion Swedish crowns were exported in 2023, where you can compare it to Stockholm and Skåne, who is the third and second biggest exports. So in a Swedish context, Västra Götaland and the Gothenburg region stands out. I want to show you how we compare in a international comparison as well, because here we have the BRP, the gross regional product growth index from 2009 to 2023, and here we have to compare ourselves to China and the growth there, because West Sweden is the darker blue. We have the world, which is the lighter blue. We have Sweden, which is the red one, for example. So we don't have to stay on this one for too long, because I think you're getting the point. A lot of good things are happening in West Sweden, and what happens in West Sweden is really important for what's happening in Sweden. And I brought some more examples of what might happen in West Sweden, or what is happening in West Sweden in the coming almost 10 years, 8 or 6 maybe just now, until 2032. We have planned investments, and this is only from private companies, of over 250 billions from companies all over West Sweden. Of course, a lot is in relation to Gothenburg, but around Skövde, around Trollhättan, around Uddevalla, around these areas where we have this really good universities and good collaborations with the universities, a lot of good things are happening. And also all the way down to Varberg. A lot of good things are happening in West Sweden. And what we at the Chamber of Commerce want to do with these kinds of data and this kind of insight and this kind of maps, basically, is that we want to show everyone what is happening, but also highlight that this doesn't happen by chance. There are a couple of key factors that makes these companies choose West Sweden, but also a couple of key factors that we have to make sure are there for these companies. It is about energy supply. It is about infrastructure. If you come here to Trollhättan, we have a really good railway, and you can live all the way from Gothenburg to here and still study and work around here. But what's especially important for me and why I believe in this dialogue with the universities is because it's because of the people that works here. As I said earlier, West Sweden have the highest amount of technical workers in the workforce. The demography is growing in groups that are especially interesting for these kind of companies and for the workforce or the companies and enterprises. And those kind of things doesn't happen by chance. It's not by chance that we have the most amount of investments in private R&D in our region. It is because we have these kinds of close collaboration with our universities. And you don't just have to take my word for it, because I brought another report in which we call it the Competitiveness Report 2025, which was the follow-up to the one I just showed you, in which we wanted to ask our members, why has this happened? And to hear their voice or perspective in this, because everything we do at the West Sweden Chamber of Commerce, we do for our members and in dialogue with our members. So when I stand here and talk about these kinds of issues, it's not just my opinion. And I want to highlight this with some more numbers and data. And of course, we started by asking the companies in West Sweden, what do you think of the business climate of Sweden? And 34% of the ones we asked said that they believe the business climate of Sweden is good. However, they think it's better in West Sweden. Perhaps not that unusual, since they, after all, are based here in our region in West Sweden. But I think this just confirms my point, in which the companies of West Sweden are doing quite good. And that means that they're going to invest. And they're going to invest, of course, in machine replacement, capital investments. They're, of course, going to do very important investments in sustainability and digitalization. However, what I feel is most interesting in my line of work and in this dialogue is that staff and skill training is the most important investment, or what they want to invest in during the upcoming 12 months. It is a multi-answer question. That's why the percentages might not line up, if any one of you are thinking about those kind of things. But I think it's quite interesting and perhaps even quite uplifting that the companies here want to invest in staff and skill and in people. And maybe that's not different from what they also think is West Sweden's greatest strength. Here we have another multi-answer question where they were asked, what do you think are the greatest strengths of the West Swedish competitiveness, or why do you base your company here in West Sweden? And of course, quality of life is one of those things that are really important because in the end you need people to enjoy life where they live. And as I hope maybe some of you get to experience, we have quite a good quality of life here in West Sweden, and a lot of things to do. And as I told you before, the infrastructure is also quite all right in most places. For example, here in Trollhättan, where we are today, I took the train earlier in just 30-40 minutes from Gothenburg without any difficulties. But the single most important strength for West Sweden, or the single most important factor of why our members and other CEOs, whom we also asked in this report, base their companies in West Sweden, is the access to expertise and skills. So we're doing something right today, and perhaps more important than that is that we continue to do the same things right moving on. Because skill supply is the most important factor for future competitiveness as well. We asked them, how will the following factors affect your business in coming years, and specifically how your company creates value and develops its competitiveness. And international businesses is important. A well-functioning housing market is important. AI and sustainability is, of course, really important. But I think it's interesting to know that the opportunity to recruit the right skills stands out as the single most important factor. And of course it's going to stand out because we know that the companies and the enterprises of West Sweden are often technology leaders. They have a lot of high-skilled workers. They have a high-skilled workforce, and if they're going to expand, they need more people to study, to get the right skills, and perhaps even moving here. Because if I'm going to send some kind of message for you guys that's watching, is that the opportunity to recruit the right skills, that's you. At the West Sweden Chamber of Commerce, we believe in close collaboration with the universities of our region, with our schools of our region, and with all levels of the educational system. Because this here is the single most important factor. And you can see it's not only our reports or surveys that says so. Almost every week, at least every month, there's a new report from a new organization that says the skill supply and issues of skill supply, the opportunity to recruit the right skills is the companies of Sweden in whole, their biggest factor for growing and for future competitiveness. And that could perhaps be you. Because we need more skilled technical workers in our region. So I hope I have said something that might be a little bit inspiring to at least someone of you. Because in the West Swedish Chamber of Commerce, we have this saying that together we make West Sweden stronger. And we do that through these kinds of dialogues or webinars or collaborations with the university, but mostly we do it through our members and through our partners and through students, such as you guys, because we're going to need quite a lot of people in the upcoming years in our region. So I hope I've said something that might spark some kind of interest, and thank you very much for having me here today.
Thank you so much, Oscar. It was a great presentation. I haven't seen it before either, so even I learned a few things. So you can stay around here. Yeah, that's perfect. You can stand here so people can see the QR code if they have any questions. So Now we are coming to the Q&A session.
Yeah.
So first of all, we want to see if someone are asking questions in the Q&A, people who are joining us live. But to start that off, I would like to ask a bit about this collaboration you were talking about between you and universities, us of course, and others of course in the region as well. One example is this, but in what other ways do you collaborate with universities?
Yeah, I've spent the last 2 years or something like that talking a lot with universities, and we've talked about how can we get small and medium-sized enterprises to access the universities, to access academia, because we see from our members and from our companies that the small and medium-sized enterprises, they don't have the resources, the time, or always the knowledge on how to access universities. And the universities, on their hand, doesn't always have the time or resources or knowledge to access the small and medium-sized enterprises. But as we say, small and medium-sized enterprises are like the biggest cornerstone of our economy and of our companies, and they are really important. So we have recently now developed and started a new project where we, together at the West Sweden Chamber of Commerce with the West Sweden region, Västra Götalandsregionen, and the 5 universities in our region are going to try and find more ways between the small and medium-sized enterprises and the universities. And then this kind of collaborations could be one of those things, and we're going to stay here during the afternoon and talk about mentors and mentorship programs and such things, because we want more students to come out at companies and come out in the work life.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let's see if we can get the questions on the screen if you are asking any questions live. But in the meanwhile, I have a couple of my own. So we talk a bit about like the practical stuff of working, what kind of business do we have and everything. But what would you describe as a biggest, like, what defines Swedish working culture? Like, how is a typical Swedish workplace? Is it possible to say anything general about it?
It's a hard question, I think, because, of course, there's a lot of different enterprises, a lot of different companies, and lots of different workplaces. But I think, in general, we are high-skilled workers. We contribute with knowledge and through high technical expertise, but also I think like working in Sweden, work culture in Sweden is a bit different from a lot of other places, because we have this like work-life balance, which is really important to a lot of people, myself included. We have this, those kind of like perhaps softer values in the workplace, where we have a lot of like this kind of softer, more unspoken rules, which are quite nice, I think. If that's some kind of
I think answer. It is. I was a bit fishing for the informality of it all. But for example, I told everyone your name is Oscar. It's just first name, no titles. We're very informal in that way. I see we got a question about how many students get jobs immediately after graduation. I would say in general it's a bit difficult to answer. It depends on what you study and on what level. But I can tell you some stats I saw recently is that University West, when it comes to the technical education, when it comes to engineering, on a national level we are very highly ranked on the amount of students that get job directly after education. But this is a bit difficult to follow up. We don't have that type of system necessarily. But I know that in some kind of broader overview, a lot of engineering students got a job.
Yeah, I can say something about this as well, because the National Enterprise Organization of Sweden, Svenskt Näringsliv, they make this like university checkup or what you can call it. And in those kinds of surveys or reports, they try to see how many are established on the working in work life, like 3 or 5 years after your exam. And yeah, as you said, University West, and in those cases, what I've seen is the engineering programs, and they are in the top rankings of Sweden and in Swedish universities.
Yeah. That's what I've read as well.
Yeah.
So we got a question about work integrated learning. So it's a particular way of working here at University West, but I think I might be able to convert it into a question for you who are external. At University West, we talk a lot about getting contact with business during your studies. Examples: having guest lectures, doing group projects together with industry. Some programs offer research internship opportunities and stuff like that. In what way do you deem, or does employers deem, that type of skill, or that type of, if you have learned a bit about that or have experience with it from studying, what does that matter?
No, but I think it's really important, and that is really good both for students and the university, but also for the company. At the West Sweden Chamber of Commerce, we have worked with like trainee programs and work integrated learning programs for a long while, and I think that that's part of the success here at the University of West, that you work so closely to the employers or the work life, and as a student you get contacts, because we know that contacts are the biggest thing if you're going to enter the Swedish labor market. You need to already, when you're a student, go out in the work life, get contacts, get to know people, get some kind of like first row on your resume, and through work integrated learning, you can get those kind of values. So we're a big supporter of everything from like preschool, internships to everything in between. Yeah.
So would you say in general that networking is an important like skill or a benefit? Yeah,
I'd say so. Perhaps unfortunately, but I think depending on whom you ask, like 6 or 7 out of 10 jobs are in some way found through contacts. So networking contacts are going to be an important factor, but that doesn't have to be a problem if you know that you have to get contacts, or if you know that the networking part is a big issue, because then you have to find ways out. Like I told you about the mentorship program we're talking about with the University West. I know you have the co-op programs where you're out in the companies and in work life during your education. Those kind of things, that's how you get networks or contacts and such. So what might feel like a problem doesn't have to be a problem if you know that is a big factor.
Yeah. And I think it's important to put the emphasis on you can, like you said, turn the maybe challenge into an opportunity if you have the right networking skills. Go to the fairs, talk to the guest lecturers, take any opportunity you have. We have a double type of question. We have a student currently studying sustainable development, which is a program focusing on sustainable development, but also on work integrated learning as a research area. So I first of all want to ask, what type of job opportunities do you see, for example, within sustainable development that is not necessarily technically oriented, or other type of work opportunities not focused on tech?
Yeah. Good question, and maybe I should have shown you some of those as well. But what we usually say, and what you say when you count these kind of jobs, and when you see that Saab is going to employ 500 new people. Those 500 new people, they need someone to drive the bus to the work. They need someone at ICA. They need someone. So for every job in the industry, we usually say that 1.5 jobs more are created elsewhere. So when Saab employs 500 people, that could be like 1,200 people in whole. Yeah. And it's not only just like buses and those kind of things. It's everything in society, because they're going to need someone to work with the communication, and they're going to need someone who works with information and computers and everything.
HR and project management.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a good thing to remember, that when you read about this industry is going to employ this amount of people, what you can do is multiply it by 1.5, and then you see what approximately, of course, other jobs are going to pop up. Yeah. That are somewhat, or not at all related, but because of it.
Yeah. I also saw a question about, is there any specifics that these companies that are hiring are listing on the job applications? Like, is there any specific requirements towards international students, and how does it look with the language, for example?
Yeah, it's a good question, and unfortunately there are a lot of companies that are Swedish based, but more and more are turning to English, because they understand that if we're going to find the right skills, if we're going to find the right people, we might need to look broader. At the West Sweden Chamber of Commerce, we have a project that is called Move to Gothenburg, and it's about international attraction and how to attract employees from all over the world. And at the Move to Gothenburg website, which you can find if you go to Move to Gothenburg and Google it, they have this job portal where you can sort jobs in West Sweden based on if you need to know English or not, or if there are in English or not. And I know that both Gothenburg and Trollhättan regions there are quite many jobs that only require English as a working language. So there are jobs like that, but that's one of our jobs, to make the companies understand that English is not a hard language, and it is possible for you to attract even more talent.
Yeah, and I know I heard a lot of discussions about that the companies are actually working in English. They are working with international companies. They have colleagues based around the world, but still they prefer Swedish speaking hires. But it's just a culture question, not necessarily a technical question, but like you said, there's a lot of efforts being put into changing this view, and a lot of opportunities are English based. But also to help the students that are actually here studying a program, we offer free Swedish courses for all international students studying a program, just to get you started with the social type of Swedish learning. I saw a question here about learning more about business skills and more knowledge within this area, and maybe culture and stuff like that. You talked about Move to Gothenburg. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, they host some type of events like this.
Yeah, I'd say they are more focused on international employee attraction than student attraction. But I mean, if you come here as a student, I hope that you choose to stay here and work when you're done. So they have a lot of information about these issues. They have a lot of information about how you move here, what is important, and how you get used and get settled in West Sweden. I call them Move to Gothenburg because that's the old name. They have a broader project now, which is like Move to the whole West Sweden. So it's not only Gothenburg.
You can live in Trollhättan and go to Move to Gothenburg events.
Exactly.
And they are free for everyone to join. And also we have had lectures here on campus by organizations that are focusing on getting students into the workplace, that are focusing on like workplace culture. How do you behave in a lunchroom and during fika, which is an extremely Swedish concept where you sit down and take a cinnamon roll, preferably, but any type of small snack and a cup of coffee. Like, what is that concept? How does it work? What important part does it play at the workplace? So, yes. Is there any lecturing jobs available? I would say generally, yes, there is an opportunity. And you can also continue into PhD studies after you graduate. But that is something you need to look into. It's not necessarily a part of your education. How many students from Nigeria? I can't answer that right away, but please email us and we can take a look at the official numbers. I also have a question about companies, like what is the formal and informal ways to get in contact with companies? Like, do they only accept applications for a job posted, or is it encouraged for students to reach out on their own? What do they prefer?
I think it's from a case-to-case basis, if I'm going to be honest. I think some companies have perhaps the bigger they are, the more likely they are to be able to handle a spontaneous contact. But if you're a small company, maybe it's harder, but also maybe you don't get as many. And then you might be happy, oh, you want to work here, nice. So you can always try, I think. But also here in University West, I was here during before Christmas, and you had this big employee exhibition event. And I think those kinds of events are really good to have this informal contact, because then you can just walk up to someone and talk to them, and how can I contribute to your company, and I studied this and this, and I'm really interested in doing something like this in the future. So I think you can find both. Yeah,
that's a good way to network. In West Fair, we are hosting every year, inviting companies to talk to the students and show them about internship opportunities, job opportunities, the skills they are looking for. You mentioned a mentorship program. Can you tell us a bit more about it? What does it mean? How is it structured? How does one get into it? Where do you read more?
I don't think there's that much more information right now. We're working with your colleagues here at the university to get a pilot going during spring now, or starting in next semester. Because as I think I read in the questionnaire, and I agree with you, being work-based or work-life based in your learning is really important. And it's important for the contacts, but also to see the application of what you learn and why it is important to learn different things. So we'll get back to that one.
You'll hear more about it. So after completing master's course, do you have opportunity to study more? After you have studied your master's, we don't offer courses you can read separately, but I would definitely recommend you look into PhD studies, which is not necessarily, PhD studies is the wrong way to word it maybe in Sweden, because a PhD position is a paid working position combined with research studies. So that would be something you might look into. You can find more info on the webpage when it comes to PhD studies, so you can look into it. Is there any organization linking international alumni of universities and employers? I think that's kind of the Move to Gothenburg organization. Maybe you know more or of something else?
Yeah, I don't know in general, but I know that we try to encourage international students to stay here. But I don't want to get repetitive, but because you need the contacts and you need the networking, you need to be a bit out and about. So we, for example, try to engage our members and our companies in this kind of like alumni networks and such, but also like through Move to Gothenburg and those kind of projects as well.
Yeah. It's important to know Swedish. I think we covered it. Do we have the chance to meet industry at the beginning of the semester? So that depends, I would say, of your program, what your lecturer have planned and what your professors are planning in the curriculum. But the InWest Fair you mentioned, and we talked a bit about it before, is the work fair, and it's usually hosted in November, so about like 2 months ish, maybe end of October. The date isn't set yet until like for exactly this fall, but a couple of months after you start, the big fair will be held at campus, which is a great opportunity. Average cost of student accommodation. So the accommodation cost depends, but we calculate the approximate cost of living in general, including accommodation, food, books, anything like public transport, whatever, to 8,000 Swedish kronor each month. And this would depend on where you live. This is based on Trollhättan, where it's, of course, a bit more affordable to stay if you compare it to in the center of Gothenburg, for example. Could you kindly share a link to the portal Oskar talked about in Gothenburg? What portal?
Yeah, that's the job portal at the Move to Gothenburg website. I can send you a link and we can maybe get it out. But but you can also, if you Google Move to Gothenburg, it should their website should show up there, and then you should be able to find the job portal through that website as well.
And if you have a hard time finding it, you can just email the email address behind us, and we can send you the link in contact with you. Is previous work experience important when looking for work after graduating?
I don't know. I think it depends. I think since you reference graduating from University West there in the question as well, I think you get a bit of work experience during your stay at the University West with all this work integrated learning and those kind of things. But of course, it's always better with the work experience. But I think it is more important to have like a right experience, and if you can show some kind of effort or those kind of things, I think it's always good. But if you can get in contact with the companies through the university, which the university is quite good at, maybe you get your work experience that way instead.
And if you have relevant experience from the country where you are moving from, working in a similar sector or anything like that, that of course I'm guessing is a very relevant experience that you definitely should lean a bit on when applying for jobs. But I would also like to emphasize the thing we started the Q&A about, like the culture thing. I talked to the boss at the GKN, and he said that an important part when we hire is also culture fit. Of course, skills, grades, the subjects you have read is very important, but also the culture fit is very important. Like, do you have the same values? What do you bring to the team? And stuff like that is also very important.
I heard him when he was here at the InWest Fair as well. And I remember he talked a lot about those kind of values as well. And I think one word that also usually comes up in this kind of talks are grit, and to like show some grit and that you want to go somewhere and like have some kind of drive.
So which other regions of Sweden would you say are as good, maybe not as good, but are also pretty good if you compare it to Gothenburg economically?
I mean, there are a lot of good regions in Sweden. We have of course like highlighted the key factors where we stand out here. But as you can see, like Stockholm, there's a lot of things happening there. They have higher amount of like venture capital and investment in those kind of enterprises. I think the Skåne region is good as well, where you have this close contact to Copenhagen and through to all of Europe. So there are a lot of good regions in our country. I'd say.
And Sweden in general is quite well off economically. No matter where in the country you live, or maybe in the Scandinavians even, Nordic countries. Not to promote them by any means, but scholarship opportunities. I saw we got a question about it. We do offer scholarship opportunities for master students. You can read more about it on the webpage. And once again, if you have a hard time finding the link, you can send us an email and we will answer you back where you find more information. Do University West assist students getting employment after they graduate? I would say officially, like formally, no, we don't have like office working on that like official contact between student and company, but in some ways, of course, we do. For example, the fair contacts during the education, having you here today, and more in the informal way, we encourage the students to gain contacts and relevant skills for them to get a better chance. So in a more informal way we do, but we don't have an office like focusing specifically on that. An explanation of exports, like what does that mean, and why does it account for anything? Why is it important?
Because in our case, exporting is what we sell out of the region, and West Sweden is a region with a lot of manufacturing companies and a lot of manufacturing industry, and we sell those goods, those products out in the world, both to the EU and also to the rest of the world. So that's why export is a really important factor for us.
Yeah, that's a good explanation, I think. Can we have an opportunity to find a part-time job in the university? I would say yes, we do offer opportunities for students to work as student ambassadors, for example. It's not that many positions, but we do offer you the opportunity, and we post it on our webpage and send it out in WhatsApp, for example, when you are a current student. Talking about work-integrated learning that we will get by in virtue of studying at this university. My question is there an opportunity for one to work for a few years in Sweden in the industry in order to get the required experience? I would say like work experience, of course, is very good. After you have your student, when your studies, if this is some more like visa-related questions, we do have the additional job search visa after you have the study visa when it's ending. When your studies are ending, you can apply for an extension. And I would say, yes, working in Swedish industry, of course, is a great way to show that you have relevant skills, right?
Yeah, I'd say so as well. And if you get this integrated learning and you start working through that, I hope you have a good chance to maybe stay at that company, or perhaps you get at least some kind of experience from the industry. And I know that if it's like a visa-related question, I can assure you that the Move to Gothenburg website is really good for those kind of questions as well, because they are really good experts in those kind of questions.
Perfect. We got a question particularly about a curriculum, which we can't answer, unfortunately, but once again, email us and send exactly the same question you asked us here, and we will either answer you directly there, or we will help you find your way to the program manager. Does the graduate courses require or involve an internship or work placement? None of the programs have that as a mandatory part of the education, but many offer you the opportunities to take an internship abroad or an internship during your studies, which is a great opportunity. Or some offer, of course, all programs gets you the opportunity to write your thesis together with a company, which is another way for you to get contacts and experience and a foot in the door. And you mentioned it like skill supply, and like hiring new skills is, of course, is a big part of it. But if you get your foot in the door, a lot of companies, in my experience, do focus on leveling up their employees, so to speak. To is that your view as well?
Yeah, I agree, and I think that a lot of companies focus on, as I showed you, want to invest in skills development, and to invest in their personnel. So you can also expect to evolve your knowledge and skills.
The scholarships are based on merit and personal letter. I would say in general, you have a bit more what we look for in your application on the web page. Where if you just search Scholarship University West, you will find the right page. Can I learn Swedish on the side while I study? Is that allowed? Yes, it is. And it's encouraged. We offer Swedish lectures on campus for all international students studying a program here. So it's really encouraged, and it's definitely possible to do on the side. I have 15 years of experience in Bangladesh after my bachelor. Now I applied for a master's. Is there any problem to get admitted in at your university? I wouldn't say so. It depends a bit of grades, language skills and stuff like that. If you want us to take a look at your specific resume and study background, you can email us. And we are getting very close to the end, so we will have one last question that is not related to university. How does the workplaces and today's leader work with leadership between the generations? That's a really good ending question.
Yeah.
I'm not the right one to
I think
decide
there's
that
a lot of things you can do, because we know that now that we have Generation Z coming out from universities to workplaces, and we have all the way back to the baby booming generation. We have a lot of generations in the workplace today, and in some ways there are a lot of similarities, of course, but in some way there are also some differences between how you have to work as a leader to accommodate all those needs. And I would say some do it better, some do it. Some have more work to do, I'd say, but there are a lot of interesting things to do there, and I think this kind of university collaborations is a great way to work with the generations in the labor market.
Yeah.
Because if you're a mentor, you perhaps mentor someone younger than you, and you get a bigger understanding of what the young generations, young people values, young people's everyday life, and what's important. And perhaps you can use those kind of skills or those kinds of insights in your leadership.
And that's a really good answer. I would also like to say, again, the culture thing we talked about, I think it's an important part as well, that the informality makes the difference between older generations and younger a bit less noticeable if you compare it to maybe other countries where you have a more traditional way of speaking with titles, and that might make the difference bigger. Yeah. But here, of course, there is difference culturally depending on your age, but might be not as big as you're used to depending on where you're from. Yeah. So with that question, I would like to thank all of you who joined us live here today, and of course, thank you, Oscar, so much for joining us here.
All the questions.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
It's really great to see all the questions. And if you have any more that you felt that we didn't answer or that we didn't even try to because we got so many, email us and we will get back to you. And with that, thank you so much, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. Take care.